Hey everyone, this is Six Path Weeb. Today, we're diving into a fascinating what if. What if Naruto carried a rare dōjutsu within his bloodline? Part 3. We'll explore how this could have reshaped the ninja world, changed battles, and even altered Naruto's journey entirely. Disclaimer, everything here is for entertainment and discussion. I do not own any anime footage used in this video. All rights go to the original creators and copyright holders. Let's get started. 2 days later at the academy. The academy was buzzing with excitement. Today was team placements, and Naruko couldn't help but smile. No more holding back. No more pretending to be the underdog. It was time to show her true potential. Naruko glanced around the classroom and noticed that Iruka wasn't there yet. He was probably being informed about Mizuki's betrayal of Konoha by Hiruzen. Naruko felt a pang of sympathy for Iruka, knowing that Mizuki had once been a close friend. But that was the life of a shinobi, sometimes even those closest to you could make mistakes. Her thoughts were interrupted when the door swung open, revealing Sasuke's two biggest admirers, Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino. Sigh. It was the same scene every day. Ha! I win, Ino. I get to sit next to Sasuke-kun, Sakura exclaimed, pumping her fist in the air. Ino shot her a glare. The only reason you would have won is because of that forehead of yours. I get to sit next to Sasuke-kun. Ino retorted, and Sakura growled in response. What did you just say, Ino? You heard me, forehead, they shouted at each other, glaring across the room. Sparks of rivalry seemed to fill the air. Just as the tension peaked, other students stepped in to argue over who should sit closer to Sasuke. Naruko sighed. Didn't they realize there were 2 seats next to him? Before the situation escalated further, Iruka entered, quieting everyone with his signature big-headed jutsu. Good morning, everyone. Today marks the beginning of your journey as shinobi of Konohagakure. I'm proud to be your sensei and excited to see where your paths take you, he began, glancing briefly at Naruko, who was staring out the window before refocusing on the front of the classroom. Ahem. Without further ado, team placements. Team 1 is. Iruka called out, assigning students to various teams until he reached the 7th. Team 7 will consist of Haruno Sakura. Sakura perked up. Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke continued looking out the window as usual. And Iruka hesitated slightly, prompting Sakura to jump in with her usual enthusiastic flair. Uzumaki Naruko, he finished. Oh no, thought Naruko, though a small smile tugged at her lips. Your Jonin sensei will be Hatake Kakashi, Iruka added. Well, that's not bad. At least my mentor is still Kakashi ni, Naruko thought. She then noticed the shy Hyuga heiress glancing her way, her cheeks flushed. Cute, Naruko mused. Iruka continued naming other teams. Team 8, Aburame Shino, Hyuga Hinata, and Inuzuka Kiba, with Jonin sensei Yuhi Kurenai. Team 9 is still forming. Team 10, Akimichi Kuji, Nara Shikamaru, and Yamanaka Ino, with Jonin sensei Sarutobi Asuma. After the announcements, students congratulated one another. Some teams celebrated fist bumps while others complained about their assignments. Well, good luck, everyone. I'll be leaving now. Your Jonin sensei should be here shortly, Iruka said, departing as the remaining sensei arrived to collect their students. 20 minutes later, only Team 7 remained. Naruko sighed and walked toward the open window. Where are you going, Naruko? Sasuke asked, catching her attention before she leapt out. To explore the path ahead, maybe you should try to instead of brooding all the time, she called back, jumping from the sill with a grin. Dash. At the training grounds. Naruko arrived at the clearing, seeking her silver-haired Jonin mentor. She found him standing in front of a memorial shrine, as usual. You know, they'd want you to live your life instead of lingering in the past, Naruko said gently. Kakashi lifted his single visible eye to her. I know, but I feel I owe it to them. Especially Rin, he replied softly. Naruko placed a hand on his shoulder. Kakashi ni, you can't keep carrying this weight. They would want you to move forward, to live for yourself and for Konoha. Kakashi looked up, then back at Naruko, offering her his signature smile. You're right, Naruko. I'll try to move forward. How much time before we return to the academy? Just a couple of hours, Naruko replied, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Then how about a sparring session, for practice? Kakashi suggested. Naruko immediately readied herself. I'll take that as a yes, Kakashi said, raising his headband to reveal his Sharingan. Then I'll show you some techniques that even the Sharingan can't copy, Naruko declared, activating her Shinwagon. Mukuten Haijutsu, Jukai Katan. She called, and trees began to spring up around them, creating a living forest. Kakashi dodged nimbly and responded with, Katen, Gokakyu no Jutsu. A ball of fire shot toward Naruko, who leapt aside gracefully, landing some distance away. Lesson 1, Taijutsu, Kakashi said, adopting the Goken stance. His left arm was behind his back, and his right hand beckoned. Naruko smiled and prepared herself, stretching lightly as she centered her focus. A leaf drifted gently between them, signaling the start of their sparring session. Then, with a flash, both disappeared from view, ready to begin their friendly battle. The one shinobi who had once been celebrated as the legend of the hidden leaf for her unmatched skill both on and off the battlefield. She had mastered nearly every technique in Konoha, excelling in nearly all shinobi arts and the village's jutsu, save for the specialized abilities of certain clans. In her prime, she was both revered on the battlefield and deeply respected in the village. She was also cherished as a mentor, a parent, and a grandparent. There had always been one shinobi whom she believed had matched her in skill and spirit, Namikaze Minato, known as Konoha's Yellow Flash. She was famed for her extraordinary speed and strategic brilliance, having once neutralized an entire enemy battalion of the strongest forces from Iwagakure in mere seconds. This remarkable feat had been instrumental in ensuring peace during the Third Shinobi War. After the war, Hiruzen, then the village leader, stepped aside to appoint a successor. Hiruzen chose Minato, confident that she could guide Konoha to even greater heights. Minato's tenure as Hokage was brief, yet legendary. A few years into her leadership, a massive threat emerged, threatening the village's stability. Minato contained this crisis and entrusted the future of the village to her newborn daughter, Naruko, while making a great personal sacrifice. Hiruzen often reflected on those events, quietly wondering if he could have done more to protect the young shinobi. The story shifts to a council meeting concerning the young Naruko's upcoming promotion to Jinan. I believe the situation should be carefully monitored. She is becoming remarkably strong, stated a concerned civilian council member, Hibiki. The civilian council agreed, though the shinobi advisors only exchanged knowing glances, wondering why civilians continually involve themselves in shinobi matters. The heads of the major clans, however, approached the discussion differently. Hyashi Hyuga, leader of the Hyuga clan, was calm and composed. He had long black hair and striking, featureless white eyes, and he wore traditional robes with a brown hari. He had 2 daughters, Hinata and Hanabi, and viewed Naruko's training as both normal and beneficial. Nara Shikaku, father of Shikamaru, also saw no problem with Naruko's growth. With his dark hair tied in a ponytail and a thoughtful expression, he had encouraged his son to befriend her and recognized her potential. Other clan leaders, including Choza Akimichi, Inoiki Yamanaka, Sume Inuzuka, and Shibuya Barame, shared similar views, believing that Naruko's development as a shinobi was natural and necessary. The advisors to the Hokage, Mitokado Homura, Yutane Koharu, and Shimura Danzo, remained neutral but attentive. Hibiki began to speak again, but Hiruzen's stern presence quickly silenced the room. The Hokage's aura commanded respect, and his words carried the weight of authority. Please remember, Hibiki-san, matters regarding Naruko fall entirely under my guidance, Hiruzen said calmly but firmly. Interfering in the affairs of my shinobi is not permitted. Let this be clear to all present. The council murmured in agreement, and the meeting was concluded. Hiruzen left, quietly pondering the challenges of guiding such talented young shinobi. Meanwhile, at the training grounds, Naruko, the spirited young shinobi, was engaged in an intense training session with her mentor, Kakashi. She was flushed with effort, her fox-like grin bright on her face, undeterred by the exhaustion of the rigorous session. Though her training outfit was somewhat disheveled from the exercises, her enthusiasm was boundless. Kakashi, crouched and catching his breath, reflected on how far Naruko had progressed. Her chakra reserves were immense and growing daily, far surpassing those of most shinobi her age. While he had always been proud of her, these moments of training brought him a quiet satisfaction. Naruko was growing into a remarkable leader. You ready to take a break, Kakashi-ni? I've still got plenty of energy left, Naruko teased, her confident grin shining brightly. Confidence is admirable, Kakashi said, appearing suddenly behind her, but always remember to stay mindful and grounded in your actions. Naruko's eyes gleamed mischievously. I'll remember, Kakashi-ni. But you'll have to stay sharp to keep up with me. With a swift movement, she demonstrated a new technique she had been practicing, leaving both mentor and student impressed by her growth. Every session with Naruko revealed new depth to her abilities, her determination, and her creativity as a shinobi. Doten, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu. Earth Release, Twin Root Technique. Whatever you say, Naruko. That confidence of yours could have backfired if I were anyone else, Kakashi said with a playful smile, adjusting his headband over his Sharingan. With a gentle pop, the other Kakashi vanished in a puff of smoke. Ah! I was so close. I thought I had you that time, Naruko said with a pout, deactivating her shinwagon and letting out a small sigh. Yeah, that was close. Kakashi admitted, making the blonde smirk. Before Naruko could respond, he added, but you still have plenty of training ahead if you want to beat me. His smirk was playful, even with most of his face hidden. Oh yeah, Cyclops? Why don't we go another round and see who comes out on top? Naruko teased, wriggling to get out of the ground to give a friendly punch to the scarecrow's face. Kakashi waved his finger teasingly, making a small TSK sound, encouraging Naruko to try even harder. Sorry, Naruko. Maybe next time. Right now, we have to go get your other teammates from the academy, remember? Kakashi said, forming a few hand signs before stomping the ground. Naruko sprang up effortlessly. Fine. But next time, I'm gonna win, Kakashi ni. You hear me? Naruko called, pointing at the one-eyed Jounin, who seemed more absorbed in his book than the scolding. Hey, you said something, Naruko-chan? Kakashi asked, smiling. Without another word, Naruko spun into a gust of wind and left. Did I say something wrong? Kakashi murmured to himself, still wearing his calm smile. Academy, 10 minutes later. Where are they? Sakura exclaimed, her frustration making Sasuke cover his ears. Not that anyone could blame her, they'd been waiting a long time. It's been almost 3 hours. I swear, Naruko is testing my patience. Sakura added, pacing back and forth. Just then, Naruko slid through a window while Kakashi entered through the door. Sorry we're late. A black cat crossed my path, so we had to take the long way, both said in unison. They exchanged a look of shock before nodding. Yeah, that's the third time today, Kakashi said. Man, that cat's so tricky, Naruko exclaimed, raising her fist. Both Kakashi and Naruko laughed heartily, earning glares from Sakura and Sasuke. Kakashi turned to the other two. I like this kid. She even had me believing that story. Sakura, fuming, exclaimed, liars. You've made us wait 3 hours. Kakashi, Naruko, and Sasuke covered their ears, trying to escape the volume. Okay, calm down. Everyone, meet me on the roof in 5 minutes, Kakashi said, disappearing in a swift leaf-style sunshine. Not to be outdone, Naruko left in a swirl of wind. Sasuke, watching in shock, muttered, how does she move like that? It doesn't matter, once a talented shinobi, always a talented shinobi. Sakura followed, still fuming. Academy roof, 6 minutes later. Sasuke and Sakura arrived on the roof to find Kakashi leaning on a railing and Naruko sitting on the stairs in front of him. You're late, Kakashi exclaimed, making Sakura even more frustrated. Sasuke just gave his usual humph and sat next to Naruko. Coming from someone who was 3 hours late for their team's first meeting, Sakura yelled, making everyone cover their ears again. That's true, but I'm your Jounin-sensei. When I say 5 minutes, I mean 5 minutes. A shinobi never reveals everything about when they arrive, small details can matter in a mission, Kakashi said calmly, turning a page in his book. Sakura sat down beside Sasuke, still fuming. Kakashi closed his book with a snap and cleared his throat. Alright, introductions. Let's start with yourselves. Introduce ourselves? What should we say? Sakura asked, confused. You can say your name, likes, dislikes, hobbies, and future goals, Kakashi explained. Could you give an example? Sakura asked. Kakashi sighed. For the girl who graduated top of her class, you sure are a bit slow sometimes, Naruko teased, slurping her instant ramen. What was that? Sakura yelled, nearly bouncing off the roof. Calm down, Sakura-chan. Wouldn't want you to lose too much energy with all that shouting, Naruko said with a mischievous grin. That's it. Sakura fumed, but Kakashi intervened. That's enough. Sakura, sit down. Naruko, stop teasing your teammate. Sasuke, stop pouting. We're a team, Kakashi continued. Act like it. Imagine we were on an important mission together, what would you do if you didn't cooperate? Exactly. We are Team 7. Work together. Sakura lowered her head, Sasuke glared, and Naruko grinned and waved at Kakashi. Kakashi narrowed his eye at Naruko. You're really going to make me put in extra effort. Introductions begin. Alright, I'll start. I'm Hatake Kakashi. Lots of things I like, lots I don't, hobbies are many, and my future goal? Never really thought about that, Kakashi trailed off, lost in thought. Wow, useless. He only gave his name, Sakura thought, eyebrow twitching. Sasuke just narrowed his eyes. Your turn, Pinky, Kakashi said to Sakura. Fine. I'm Haruno Sakura. I like. Glances at Sasuke, the person I admire, my hobbies are. Glances at Sasuke again, and my dreams. One more glance at Sasuke. And I don't like anyone interfering with what matters most to me, she said, blushing. Naruko elbowed Sasuke discreetly. What a devoted fan you have there, she's practically daydreaming about you non-stop, she whispered. Don't remind me, Sasuke muttered. Next, the one with the kicked puppy look, Kakashi said. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I have many goals, and I don't particularly like much. I aim to restore my clan and accomplish what I must, he said, eyes firm. Naruko and Kakashi exchanged a glance of mild concern. Sakura was lost in admiration. Alright, my favorite protege, you're next, Kakashi said, smiling at Naruko. Protege? What do you mean? Sasuke asked, narrowing his eyes at her. You'll see soon enough. Naruko, your turn. Introduce yourself, Kakashi said patiently. I'm sorry, did you say something, Kakashi-sensei? Naruko replied innocently. I'm starting not to like you, Kakashi muttered with a small smile. Could you repeat that? I didn't hear you, Naruko said, fox-like grin in place. The floor is yours. Go ahead, Naruko, Kakashi thought, shaking his head. Oh. Well, why didn't you just say so? My name is Uzumaki Naruko. There are so many things I enjoy, like Ichiraku ramen, learning from Hokage Oji-san, spending time with my niece-san, training, and developing new jutsu. There are plenty of other interests, but I wouldn't want to bore you with the rest. The only thing I find frustrating is waiting 3 minutes for instant ramen to cook. My hobbies include training, reading, tasting different types of ramen, and constantly seeking ways to improve myself as a shinobi. My dream is to restore the Uzumaki clan and to become the Hokage, not just any Hokage, but the greatest one, even greater than the fourth. I also aspire to bring unshakable peace to a world that has known too much conflict, Naruko declared with boundless enthusiasm and confidence. Sasuke and Sakura exchanged stunned glances. It wasn't every day someone spoke with such determination and clarity. Kakashi cleared his throat to gain the attention of his Jinan team. Now that we understand each other a little better, we can proceed. Tomorrow, you will embark on your first mission. What kind of mission? Sakura asked, curiosity bright in her eyes. Kakashi offered his signature smile. A survival exercise. A survival exercise. What does that involve? Sakura pressed. It's a test to see if we are truly ready to become full-fledged Jinan, Naruko explained, twirling a kunai on her finger. Wait. Aren't we already Jinan? We passed the exam, Sakura exclaimed, frustration flickering across her face. That exam was for candidates who might have the potential to become Jinan. This exercise will determine which candidates are truly ready. Kakashi-sensei, would you explain it? I think you're better suited to handle this, Naruko said with a sheepish grin. Kakashi nodded, his smile reassuring. Of the 27 Jinan candidates who completed the preliminary training, only 9 will officially become Jinan. The others will return to the academy for further preparation. Think of it as a high-stakes, pass or fail assessment. The probability of not passing is significant, but the opportunity to succeed is there, 33%. Focus on that. Sakura's eyes widened in disbelief, while Sasuke's expression remained calm but inquisitive. What? Sakura cried. She had finally been paired with Sasuke and didn't want to lose that chance. Kakashi shrugged lightly. That's the way it is. I'll determine who succeeds. Meet at Training Ground 3 at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Make sure you're prepared, you'll need your energy. With that, he disappeared in a small swirl of smoke. Naruko, however, called back, forget Kakashi-sensei's warning, have a hearty breakfast tomorrow. You're going to need it. Then, with a gust of wind, She left, leaving Sasuke and Sakura to process the news. I refuse to return to the academy. I will pass this test and take another step toward my goal, Sasuke thought before climbing down from the roof, Sakura following closely behind. 20 minutes later, at Training Ground 3. What? I have to run the survival test? Why can't you do it? You're the Jounin sensei, Naruko exclaimed, clearly agitated. I am your Jounin sensei, and as your superior, this is your task. It will also be a valuable experience for the team, Kakashi replied casually, his eye smile ever present. Kakashi sensei, I'm starting to question your methods, Naruko said, narrowing her eyes playfully. Kakashi waved dismissively. Come on, it will be fun. Don't even try to deny it. Naruko paused, considering, then grinned. You know what? You might be right. Alright, I'll do it. That's the spirit. See you at 10 a.m. tomorrow, Kakashi said before walking off, book in hand. Not long after, a black cat leapt from a tree branch, landing in front of Kakashi. Startled, he darted back toward Naruko. Naruko. That cat is back. Run the other way as fast as you can, it's trying to spook us. Kakashi called out. Without hesitation, Naruko sprinted after him, easily catching up. That cat is so mischievous. I swear it's following us, it's the 4th time today, she exclaimed, laughing. Kakashi shook his head. And people think we make up stories for fun. If only they knew. He trailed off, sharing a rare moment of laughter with Naruko. Around 5 a.m., Sasuke and Sakura found themselves at Training Ground 3, waiting for their remaining team member and sensei. Sasuke leaned casually against one of the posts while Sakura, ever energetic, began teasing him about going on a date with her. Why doesn't she understand that I'm not interested in that? I hope Kakashi-sensei and the blonde shinobi arrive soon so we can actually start training, thought Sasuke, tuning out Sakura's endless chatter. Nearly 5 hours later. Where are they? I can't believe we've been waiting this long. If they don't show up in 10 minutes, I'm going to be really upset, Sakura exclaimed, pacing back and forth. Sasuke rolled his eyes. First, his sensei had decided to make them wait instead of starting training immediately. Second, Sakura's constant pestering about going on a date with him was growing tiresome. Third, their unpredictable teammate, Naruko, had yet again shown up late, despite her remarkable skills. Once considered inexperienced, Naruko had suddenly mastered impressive techniques, like the elemental Sunshine Wind, though Sasuke remained confident her abilities wouldn't surpass his. A rustle of leaves and a swirl of wind signaled the arrival of the familiar blonde-haired shinobi with a confident grin. You're late. Sakura screeched. Both Naruko and Sasuke flinched at her high-pitched voice. Naruko casually picked at her ear with a pinky finger. A true shinobi doesn't announce their arrival. By my reckoning, I am on time. Yes, you are. Kakashi-sensei told us to be here at, Sakura began, but Naruko interrupted. Actually, Kakashi-sensei isn't here yet, so technically. I am on time, Naruko said with a grin, unbothered. She then pulled out an apple and began eating, glancing at her teammates' rumbling stomachs. I told you both to eat breakfast yesterday so you'd have energy. Looks like today's going to be a bit easier for me, she added casually. Sakura frowned. Kakashi-sensei said not to eat, and I'm not taking orders from someone who's always last in class. Naruko sighed. If you'd listened carefully, you'd know Kakashi-sensei suggested, not ordered, not to eat. But since you didn't pay attention, we both didn't pass the test. Sasuke raised an eyebrow, while Sakura glared. Well, look at Naruko actually being serious for once, Sasuke muttered. By the way, what did you mean it's easier without breakfast? Naruko just smiled innocently, sending a shiver down their spines. That's something Kakashi-sensei can explain. At that moment, Kakashi appeared, jumping down from a tree. You're late, Sakura shouted again, causing Kakashi to shake his head behind his mask. A shinobi doesn't reveal their arrival time, he said calmly. Instead of complaining, you should have used the time to scout the area. What were you going to explain, Kakashi-sensei? Sasuke asked. Kakashi's smile hinted at mischief. I won't explain the survival test myself. Naruko will. Sasuke burst out laughing. You've got to be kidding me. I'm serious, Kakashi said, pulling out his book. Take this seriously, or you might find yourself in a difficult situation. Naruko tossed her apple core over her shoulder. Well, you might want to pay attention now. After this, I'm planning to get ramen. You think you can beat me? Sasuke asked, narrowing his eyes. No doubt in my mind. But make it interesting, I need a warm-up, Naruko replied with a confident stretch. Sakura shouted, all of you, stop. Your teammates, act like it. Kakashi intervened. Yes, Sasuke. Naruko will run the survival test, it will be more engaging that way. Naruko held up 2 bells. These aren't just bells, they're very important. Whoever ends up with them can determine what happens next. Sasuke tilted his head. And what if we get them from you? Naruko grinned. Then I returned to the academy. Kakashi set a timer and 2 boxed lunches on a nearby stone. You have until noon to try and get the bells from Naruko. If you fail, you'll watch her enjoy the food while you wait. Naruko smirked. I told you, you should have had breakfast, earning groans from her teammates. Sasuke squared off. I'm taking those bells from you, Naruko. Ask nicely, and I just might give them to you, Naruko teased. I'd rather take them by skill, Sasuke replied, drawing a kunai. Naruko vanished in an instant, leaving Sasuke stunned on the ground, her foot gently placed on his back. Charge without understanding your opponent, and you'll realize the importance of strategy. I've trained for this since I was 7, Naruko said confidently. Sakura gasped. I thought you were an orphan. Who is your mentor? Naruko's grin widened. Kakashi-sensei, of course. Sakura's jaw dropped. What? Both Sasuke and Sakura glanced at their sensei perched on a tree branch, waiting for confirmation, and received a simple nod. Sasuke clenched her fists, confused. How could the prankster, the so-called last ranked, the one she had underestimated, be more skilled than her? Was this some elaborate illusion? But why hide such talent? It made no sense. Only one question remained. Why would you hide your skills? Sasuke asked, shifting her gaze from their sensei back to Naruko. Honestly, it was Kakashi-sensei's idea, Naruko replied. If I had done it my way, I probably would have graduated in my first year. But Kakashi-sensei wanted me to develop my skills gradually so I would be ready for anything in the field. I'm grateful he convinced me to do it this way, I wouldn't be as capable if I hadn't. And besides, nobody would expect the last ranked student to achieve much. You all thought the same, didn't you? I guess I did a good job of surprising everyone. Sakura could only nod, stunned, while Sasuke gritted her teeth. In the shinobi world, you always need to look underneath the underneath, because there's always more than meets the eye, Kakashi said lazily, turning a page in his book. Naruko nodded in agreement. But time was pressing, and she was ready to begin the test. All right, I think that's enough about me. You have an hour and 45 minutes left. Time waits for no one. Let's start. As Naruko spoke, Sasuke assumed a taijutsu stance while Sakura drew a kunai, holding it ready. Naruko smirked and reached into her pouch, which made Sasuke and Sakura tense, only for her to pull out a book instead. It was titled The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi, recently discovered in her father's library. Naruko grinned, realizing the main character shared her name. I wonder if To-san named me after this story, she thought. Her daydream ended abruptly when Sasuke charged at her. She never learns, does she? Naruko thought. Lesson 1, Taijutsu, Naruko said, deflecting a roundhouse kick. She blocked Sasuke's follow-up punch with her free hand, then watched as Sasuke attempted a spinning axe kick, only for Naruko to block it again. Quick thinking allowed her to avoid Sasuke touching one of the bells. That was close, she thought, smirking. Pretty good, but it won't work again, Naruko teased, causing Sasuke to grit her teeth. Don't underestimate me. I'll get those bells, Sasuke said, determined. Whatever you say, Naruko replied, returning to her book before vanishing in a puff of smoke. Where did she go? Sasuke muttered, searching for Naruko while leaving Sakura alone. How am I supposed to get a bell if Sasuke can't reach one either? Sakura worried as she cautiously ventured out to find Sasuke. So it begins, Kakashi murmured, turning a page. An hour and a half later, Sasuke and Sakura had tried repeatedly to retrieve the bells, but Naruko had outmaneuvered them at every turn. Sasuke had come close once, but Naruko's clever techniques kept her from getting another chance. Sakura, meanwhile, fainted briefly upon seeing Sasuke's head barely above the ground, thinking she was in trouble. Naruko approached the clearing, laughing lightly. That was fun, Naruko said, returning to the starting point. You could have gone easier on them, Kakashi commented, still reading. Naruko stared in disbelief. Easier? Coming from you? The same sensei who made me climb a mountain with a heavy load tied to my back? Without using chakra? Kakashi shrugged. It wasn't so bad. I almost did the same when I was your age. Naruko groaned, hiding her frustration. The bell rang, signaling the end of the test. She deactivated the timer, and after a few minutes, Sasuke and Sakura rejoined them. Well, the survival exercise is over. Did you learn anything? Kakashi asked, putting his book away. Sakura huffed. Did we learn anything? She made it nearly impossible. Naruko rolled her eyes. Sakura, you didn't even attempt to get a bell. You fainted when Sasuke was partially buried. But yes, I definitely challenged you. Sasuke looked thoughtful. I learned I need to be stronger. Naruko is more skilled than I expected. Naruko and Sakura's eyes widened. Kakashi-sensei, did I hear that correctly? Naruko asked, shocked. You did, Kakashi confirmed. Now, do you understand the purpose of the test? Sakura replied, wasn't it to get the bells from Naruko? Kakashi shook his head. Not exactly. The real goal was teamwork. Normally, a 3-person team faces the sensei together. Due to circumstances, Naruko ran the survival test alone. If you had faced me together, you might have passed easily. But you didn't work together. Sasuke, you faced Naruko head-on repeatedly with no success. Sakura, you focused only on Sasuke. The lesson is clear, missions are far easier when you work as a team. To be fair, even if they worked together, they wouldn't have gotten a bell, Kakashi-sensei, said Naruko, making Kakashi turn his attention toward her, his eye curling into a subtle, knowing smile. That may be true. Which brings me back to you. Naruko, did you learn anything? Kakashi asked, prompting Naruko to flash her signature fox-like grin. Now that you mention it. Yes, I did, said Naruko. Kakashi waited expectantly, but quickly realized Naruko wasn't continuing. What did you learn, then, Naruko? He asked. Well, I learned that I'm going to have 2 new teammates, Naruko replied, causing Sasuke and Sakura to perk up in surprise, while Kakashi's eye curved into an amused smile. What do you mean? Sasuke asked, a hint of confusion in his tone. You really need to stop calling me that. Why don't you both check your kunai pouches and see for yourselves? Said Naruko. Following her instructions, Sasuke and Sakura opened their pouches, and to their astonishment, each found a bell inside. So you figured it out, Kakashi said, and Naruko nodded, grinning. Yeah, it took me a little while, but I did eventually, Naruko replied, just as Sakura spoke up. Wait. Am I missing something? Why do we have the bells? Does this mean we aren't going back to the academy? Before Sakura could continue, Naruko gently cut her off. Calm down, Sakura. Let me explain, Naruko began. Here's the situation, Kakashi-sensei gave you your test to try to get the bells from me. But there was a hidden lesson for me as well, which I only realized after thinking it through. In the shinobi world, there may come a time when teamwork and trust are more important than anything else. Kakashi-sensei wanted to see if I was willing to give up the bells for the team's benefit, even if it meant returning to the academy temporarily. And to answer your last question, no, we aren't going back to the academy. Isn't that right, Kakashi-sensei? Naruko added with a grin. Kakashi's eye curved into a smile. I suppose it's official, then. Starting today, we are Team 7. Our first mission begins tomorrow morning. Meet in front of the Hokage Tower at 9. With that, Kakashi disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Naruko, Sasuke, and Sakura shared a moment of excitement. Naruko grinned broadly, Sasuke smirked slightly, and Sakura's face lit up with joy. They were finally shinobi of Konohagakure. Hey, can I ask a favor of you two? I promise I'll help you both with training, Naruko said, drawing Sasuke's and Sakura's attention. What is it? Sasuke asked. Can we keep my skills a secret for now? I still want people to think I'm at the very bottom, Naruko said, scratching the back of her head sheepishly. Why? Sakura asked, curious. Because I don't want the attention just yet. Plus, I'll be our secret advantage if nobody knows what I can do, Naruko was interrupted by Sasuke. Nobody will be expecting it, he finished, earning a triumphant grin from Naruko. Exactly. So, do we have a deal? She asked. Both nodded in agreement. Awesome. Since we're officially a team now, wanna go get some Ichiraku ramen? My treat, Naruko said cheerfully. Sasuke shrugged, Sakura smiled and nodded, and Naruko led the way, thinking, today isn't so bad. I'm finally a shinobi of Konoha, My teammates aren't so bad, and best of all, Kakashi-sensei is my teacher. What could go wrong? Indeed, it was a truly wonderful day. Dear YouTube family. This is all for now. If you enjoyed the journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to join our growing adventure. Your support keeps the content alive and the creativity flowing. Thank you for being part of this amazing community. Warm regards. 6 Path Weeb.